MyMac Podcast 994, M4 Extravaganza, mostly.
You're listening to the G-Men on the MyMac.com podcast.
And welcome everyone to the MyMac.com podcast. Now, not one, not two, but 3 days of new Macs, and it still feels a little disappointing. Yeah, we got a newly designed Mac Mini that's the smallest and fastest ever. An iMac with enough power for many Pro users, and an M4 MacBook Pro with a maximum amount of power. Fantastic. But no Mac Studio, no M4, no M4 Mac Pro. It's like the best chocolate cake that you ever made and forgot to put frosting on the top. Hello, how's it going? We have someone different in the studio today. Gaz is off doing Gazzy things. So I have roped in Karl Madden, late of the Mac and Forth show. How you doing today, Karl?
Hello, Guy. Thank you very much for inviting me on the show. We're getting down to the last few names on the Rolodex. So,
yeah, I was like, it still comes down to Karl. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding, of course. Karl has he has the exalted status of permanent guest host, if that like means anything to you, Karl.
Well,
a little bit.
It's a title.
Yeah, it's like, what is it? There's those companies that sell like 1 square foot of land in Scotland,
yes.
so that you can have like a stupid, Sir beef of loin or whatever. So ridiculous.
My mate's got one of them.
Oh,
I kept
really?
I kept trying to tell him in the pub, it's a scam. It's not real. No one's going to acknowledge it. But he changed his ID on his driver's license. He now says Lord or Lord,
Really?
His name. Yeah, and I'm going,
Well, they let him do it?
They did. I mean, you got to remember, it's the incompetence of our civil service. They probably let you just go straight through. The DVLA, the equivalent, what you got over there. But, oh my God. Yeah, he goes on about it all the time. His Lord, his name.
Lordship.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Like, if you get slapped, it hurts just as much, even if you're not a lord. That's
indeed, and he's best of friends with that Nigerian ambassador bloke as well. I'll tell you.
Okay, don't want to go there.
The one that's selling all his money, so you can have it. Oh, come on!
I don't. Well, I mean,
you never got the Nigerian prince money.
Everybody has.
Well,
everybody
there you
go. Okay, I thought you were talking about a real person. Because those aren't real people.
Isn't he? He's convinced he's a real person.
Oh, okay. So his lordship is sending this guy money? Or is he thinking about sending his money?
No. You want him to buy me a pint.
Oh, well, he sucks then.
Yeah, exactly.
So what have you been up to lately, Karl?
Working.
It's been a while. It's been a while for you.
Yeah, yes. Because I have to work now. Ridiculous hours. I have 4 o'clock starts in the morning. I get in about, mid-afternoon or something, fall asleep, get up a little while, have dinner, fall asleep again, go to work. That is my life now, 5 days a week.
That sucks.
It does suck.
Because they moved your warehouse, right? Is that what happened?
Yeah, they moved it slightly further north of me. So now, instead of my commute being six minutes, it's now over 30 minutes. And then I get there and I have to do all the stuff myself before I even leave the yard. So that adds another hour to my day. So basically,
you have to load your own truck?
Yeah.
Did you have to do that before, or was somebody else doing it?
So it's a complete mess.
Well, it seems if they're making you load your own truck, that they're not getting as many deliveries.
That's
within the time period that they're paying.
That's right.
You
And
for.
we're further out of London, so it takes longer to get back into London in traffic. So whereas you'd start instantly, I'm now starting 2 hours behind where I used to start because.
Well, that seems efficient.
Yeah, fantastic. Someone really thought this through.
So let's just say that it's on hiatus. The Mac and Forth show is on hiatus. have you given any thought, now that you're used to the schedule that apparently is from hell that you were just telling me about, to restart the show, or is it really just going to be too much?
No, I can't. I can't do it. I am now going to bed when I start the show, so
Mm.
I can't do it. Can you do
Okay.
it? I don't
Well,
want to
that's
do it
too
on
bad.
weekends because I just told you why I don't want to do it on weekends.
Yeah.
I want the weekends to be mine, unless some person suddenly calls me out of the blue and says, "Do you want to come on a show this week?"
on a semi-regular basis. And that's important, because I'm going to be away for probably the next 2 weekends, as I'm flying down to Florida next week, and it's on a Saturday, so I can't record that weekend. I may be able to record the weekend after that while I'm in Florida, because I am going to take a microphone
Of course you are.
and a camera, because of
course.
course I am.
Of course you are.
That's what I do.
I like the fact you said a microphone, though. So
No, that's it. That's it. I'm, and probably, I don't know about today, because I'll be spending today editing the show, but tomorrow I may get out my laptop and hook stuff up, because I haven't tried any kind of portable rig with my laptop since I updated to Sequoia on both of them. So I have to make sure everything works. And I'm only going to take a USB-C microphone. I'm not taking, an interface and, one of my good condenser microphones or anything like that. It's just going to be oh, here it is right here. Actually, I just got this. I got this on Amazon Prime Day.
okay. Audio Technica.
And I do have one of these, but it's not the USB-C one, because Audio Technica, because everyone cares about this, on their old version of the ATR 2100, which is a great microphone, it was a USB mini or USB micro connection on the bottom of the microphone. And then a year or two ago, they changed it to a USB-C, but it was more expensive. It went from like $60, $70 to $100. And it was like, I already got one. I really can't justify, as if I can justify any of my microphone purchases. I couldn't justify to myself buying another one. But when the latest Amazon Prime Day came up, it was down to like $30. And I almost bought two, but it was like, no, just buy one. Just buy one. So that's what I did. So I'll take that microphone with me, and maybe a I can't remember the name. I have two of these little square cameras. So I'll take one of them with me. And of course, I can also use my iPhone like you are.
Yeah, exactly.
If I want to, continuity. And a couple of tripods to hold everything up in the air. So if the following weekend, the last weekend that I'm in Florida, I have not that much to do on a Saturday, or I'm just tired from, doing all the other stuff I've been doing in Florida, then, and also assuming that I have bandwidth. I have no idea if the hotel that I'm staying in Fort Lauderdale has anything in the way of Wi-Fi or whatever.
They always suck. They always suck. And they say, oh, here, buy a package. And you buy the package and it sucks a little bit less.
Yeah, it still sucks. I did that like once, and then after that it was like, no. If your bandwidth sucks, it just sucks, and I'll piggyback off my phone for cellular or whatever. And my iPad has a cellular connection, so if I want to watch content or whatever, I can do it there as well. But that's what's going on. We talked about this a little bit in the pre-show. I'm using a different microphone.
He's changed his flipping mic, people.
I know. This is not exactly like breaking news. It's the Earthwork Ethos. And I first saw and heard this microphone because Dave Hamilton from the Mac Geek Gab bought one, and it just sounded so great. I don't know how well this one is going to sound until I edit the show, but when
What?
he bought his, it was like $700 to $800.
Oh my flipping word!
Yeah, yeah. Well, they've dropped the price to 400, and I got another 10% discount from the place that I bought it from. So it was it was still stupid expensive, but less.
I bought cars for less than that.
I don't know what's wrong with me, Carl, but
Well,
I have
I am kind of interested. What are you seeking? What is the ultimate goal of a microphone for you?
just to be warm and
But
smooth.
you sound warm and smooth all the time.
I
This is-
know.
ironically, when I first heard your show, all those many years ago now, right? One of the things that attracted me to continue to listening was how good you guys sounded. And ever since then, you've been on this quest to find this magical microphone that's out there somewhere that's
Yeah.
going to make you sound even better. But the thing that kept me coming back every week to your show was you guys did sound good as well, and it was a funny show, which attracted me. So you've never. Okay, there's a few when you've had technical issues. There's a few
Yeah.
things, but on the whole, you always sounded good.
Well, this is the one that I've been using. This is the and I know this is not the my microphone show. This is the Lewitt 440 Pure, which is a great condenser
Yes.
microphone. This is the one I've been using for the last couple of months,
And sounded great.
and it sounded great. It really did.
But no,
So,
you had to go and spend another $360.
yeah, I kind of did. I don't know
We
why.
we need to get you into Mike's Anonymous, I tell you.
Oh, it is bad. It is so very, very bad. We don't unless you have some news. I didn't even think to talk about this.
Why
before
would
we
I have? I
started the
don't do
recording.
the show anymore. I wouldn't have news. Why would you think I need to have news? Oh,
Well,
Apple released some new stuff. There you go.
they did,
That's
and
fine.
we'll talk about that in just probably a lot sooner than we realized. I should have said, and I don't know why I didn't set up. I guess just because it's like one of those automatic things. Gaz is always set up
Mhm.
Gaz's snippets. Hold on.
Hit it.
Nope, that's not it. Snippets.
Smooth as
And-
ever.
Yeah, so smooth. I know exactly where all the buttons are. Just it takes me one or two before I find it. I did not think to set up any news articles, but I guess really the big news is just all the stuff that Apple has recently released, and also the release of iOS. What is it? 18.1
Yep. Apple Intelligence.
Mac
The
OS
first wave of
of
Apple Intelligence.
Apple Intel. If you
If
have the phone,
US.
yeah.
Or you sell it to the US anyway, which I've done.
Oh, you have a US phone?
No, I have a phone set to the. I'm in the US. I mean, I do feel a bit
Oh,
unclean
okay.
having set my region to the US. But other than that, I'm looking forward to December when I can sell it back to Blighty.
It takes the use out of all
It takes
the
the
words.
something.
How dare it? How dare it?
But yeah, so I've now got strangers talking to me when I'm going along. Siri's got a funny accent that I can't place. I don't know. It's
Oh,
weird.
what's funny is and I talked about this last week. The voice that I have set up for Siri from my phone sounds petulant. It sounds like it's almost angry at me for asking it stuff. So and I appreciate that. I do. I don't know why, but it's like, okay, it's upset that I'm asking it something. Well, it's made me upset when all it would offer me while I'm driving my car is web links when I ask it something. So the fact that it's pissed off at me, I can deal with that. I can
Christ,
deal
don't use
with
it for
that.
sat nav then, because if you miss the turning, they'll go into a huff.
Yeah. No. Go ahead and turn down
Fine.
that blind
That's it.
alley. There you
Yeah,
go.
fine. Find your own way. See if I care.
Why does it say welcome to Arkansas? I was just trying to go get some chicken. Yeah, no chicken within 48 hours of driving. Anyway,
But it is good. I mean, I haven't tried it yet, but here in the UK, for example, we don't get that hearing test thing. But there is a web link, and I have got it. I haven't tried it yet, though. And you can post that into your Safari browser, and it will open up health and gives you access to the hearing aid stuff. Apparently, well, not the hearing
Yeah, I
aid, but the
haven't-
test.
Yeah, I haven't tried that yet. I
No,
have
nor
not
have I.
tried that yet.
Because
it's-
I need to know if I'm deaf so I can
What?
properly ignore people. Exactly like that.
Just like that.
Exactly.
And of course, Mac OS 15.1 Sequoia is also now out, that has Apple Intelligence, and of course, the latest version of Sequoia annoys you all of the time, every single time you open up a program that does something other than use its own stuff. So if it has to go outside for something, are you sure you want this program? It's like, yes.
Yeah, but the
Stop
old one did that, didn't it?
bothering me.
At the start, because until you told it, that's okay, that's okay, that's okay. It
Well,
just
see,
does it.
that's it would do it when you first installed it. Yeah. And then it would leave you alone because it would say, oh, okay, I'm going to put this program in security and privacy as having these privileges. And then it would leave you alone. Sequoia, it's like every week or every month, there's some set time, and I think it's every month, will come back and
Oh,
say,
yeah.
do you still want this program to do that? And it's like, for
I
the
remember-
love of God, I told you last month. Yes.
I remember them saying something about that when it originally came out. Yes,
So
they were
stupid.
gonna limit it. I thought though. I read somewhere that they were going to limit how often it asks you.
Yeah, every month.
Oh, it's still once a month. Okay.
Yeah, it's like once a month. It's going to come back and ask you again. It's like, no. Why not have on install of a program something that says this program will be doing this, this, and this? Are you sure you want this program to do this, this, and this? You
Yeah.
click yes, and it leaves you alone. Or if that's not good enough, the first time it comes up and says this program that you installed a month ago is now doing this, this, and this. Do you want to allow it to do this, this, and this until hell freezes over or whatever? It's like,
Do you-
yes.
Do you know, if I was a developer and I could do clever stuff like that, like pop-up screens and whatnot, I would design one where where people like us who get cocky go, yes, straight away, yes. I'd put another little pop-up that goes, I don't think you read that properly. Do you want to?
Go read it again right now. Go.
Exactly.
So
I would
dumb.
be the bane.
All right. Well, I guess that's going to be it for the news section of the show, where we just bitch, moan, and complain about stuff
we're
that's
old.
in Sequoia.
We're
Yeah.
old. That's what we do.
Where's my pudding? I want my pudding. Let's talk about the stuff that Apple released last week. Now Gaz and I did a midweek show, and we kind of already talked about it in a way, but now we've had a little more time to think about it. And, Karl is now on the show and we can get his opinion. So was it Monday? They released the iMac.
Mhm.
Okay. 24 inches, M4 only. You cannot get the M4 Pro. You cannot get the M4 Max. It's the straight M4. And that's not necessarily a bad thing for a consumer product. And that's basically what the iMac is. It's meant for consumers. It already has a beautiful 24-inch screen, and you can get the nano infected screen or whatever the hell they call it. It's nano infected. Yeah, it's a great screen. And finally, across the board, it comes with 16 gigs of memory. Welcome to 2016, Apple. And a minimum, here's the next thing that they should have done, minimum of 256 gigs of storage, neither of which, of course, you can upgrade later. So when you buy the machine, you have to make that decision right away on how much storage and how much memory you're going to have. So have you looked at these iMacs?
I did on Monday. Just
nano
through.
texture
That's the
glass.
one.
That's what they're calling it.
I mean, they're all nice machines. Obviously, replacing was there M3 of the iMac?
Yeah,
I
they
think
had
it was,
the iMac and The MacBook Airs, I think, were at M3s,
Hmm.
where the MacBook Pros, the Mac Mini, the Mac Studio, and the Mac Pros all kind of topped out at M2.
Hmm. I mean, yeah, I mean, they're nice machines, so they've updated it for another, year and a bit, I suppose. I'm not sure. I still can't work out quite what their recycle rate is for these new machines as they come out. But they're keeping them up to date. They obviously had to do something like this because Apple Intelligence is coming out and they want all their machines to be as powerful as possible. Nobody really still likes the way they do storage or their memory because it's always been a bugbear of Apple. They charge far too much for their RAM, and they charge probably far too much for the storage. And as you say, you have to buy it up front. There's no way out of it. Although you always get some whiz on YouTube saying, "Oh, look, I sorted out the RAM and I put this back in."
Yeah, nobody's doing that.
No one's doing that.
Yeah.
But so again, it's an entry level machine, granted, right? It's still a lot of money if you go and spec it out totally. But it's the most probably user friendly one out of the lot because it's just the package and you open it up, set it up, plug it in, turn it on. Done.
You got a keyboard and a mouse,
Exactly.
and it's ready to go. You plug in power and you plug in Ethernet if you have. Actually, I don't know if this one. I'm sorry. The Ethernet connection for this computer is on the power brick because, of course, it is.
Okay, but yeah, I mean they got gigabit Ethernet. If you don't get the lowest one, the 8-core. And now we're getting into all the 8 cores and the 10 cores and all that stuff, and I'm not really sure what the benefits are. Obviously, the more there is a benefit. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, on real world scales, I'm not sure what the benefits are, other than it can do things faster.
Yeah. Well, now you can't. Gigabit Ethernet is the max for the iMacs.
Yeah.
You can't get the 10 gigabit upgrade.
But I've not even got gigabit into their house, so
Yeah. So what's the? Yeah, I'm just under gigabit. I'm like 700 to 900 depending on the time of day. These machines you can get up to you can upgrade to either 24 or 32 gigs of RAM for $200 and $400. Yeah, $400 to put in 32 gigs of RAM. It's ridiculous. Storage, you can go to 512, 1 terabyte, or 2 terabytes if you got an extra $600.
£800 that is for us here.
Oh, really? For the 2 terabytes of storage on the iMac? That's crazy. And that's really, other than if you want a better keyboard or Magic Trackpad, if you want to pre-install, and I don't know what the big push is with Final Cut Pro and Logic Pro. You either have it or you don't. But that's like if I go and completely fully spec out this machine, I'm going to the nano texture glass. I'm going to 32 gigs of memory. I'm going to 2 terabytes of storage. That's $2,900 US for an iMac, 24-inch iMac. Now, let's add the Magic Trackpad and the Magic Keyboard with Touch ID and numeric keypad, just because I can. That's now close to $3,000 for an iMac.
Yeah, 2,899 here.
Yeah, and that's and that's not even counting tax here in the States.
But like I say, there's few people going to buy that probably, but not many. Everyone's going to go. Everyone who's probably going to buy this model is going to go for one of the base units, one of the ones in the middle, because they do that magical thing, Apple, where they make the smallest one just seem a little bit crappy. So you go the next one up, and then they'll probably boost the storage or they'll boost the memory, and that'll be it, I reckon.
Yeah, but I'm thinking probably like $2,000 for one that's decently spec'd out.
I just wish they'd bring out a bigger version. That's all. I mean, a 24-inch screen's okay. I just miss that bigger 27-inch one.
Yeah, my wife still has my 27-inch. I think it was 2017 or 2018 iMac, still an Intel, of course. And I see that's such a gorgeous screen. And with my M1 Mac Mini, I have two 27-inch monitors connected to it. But then when I go up to help my wife and I look at the difference between how my screens look and how her screens look,
Hmm.
it's like, oh man, I really, really want 4K at 240 hertz and all the rest. It's just beautiful. I recently my wife and I recently went to Asbury Park, New Jersey to visit some friends of mine. And on a previous trip, she had bought a new Mac Mini, M2 Mac Mini, and a studio display. Have you seen what those studio displays look like?
No, I've only seen the top of the range, the XDR display.
They're ridiculously expensive, but they're gorgeous. I couldn't believe it. And it didn't matter how many times I asked and told her, well, I'll trade you one of my 27-inch for this. She was like, you're helping me install my Mac. That doesn't mean I'm an idiot. It's like, well, yeah, okay. You're right. Says Mr. Buying microphone man.
But I say, even if you went for the base model, like for a casual user, that's still a good machine, and it's still quite powerful.
Yes,
we all kind of get hung up on because we can't remember how it used to be with Intel, where some of those things like RAM did make a lot of difference. But now the way the architecture of the M chips,
it's not as important.
No, not so much anymore.
Right, because it starts doing memory swap with SSDs, which are also ridiculously fast. So,
which in the old days again was a problem because it burned up your SSD quicker. But I think they've done some magic to lessen that nowadays.
Yeah, or if you still had a spindle drive, everything would just grind to a halt.
Oh yeah.
But with SSDs and how the M series processors work, it's not as big of a deal. I mean, you're still better off with more RAM than less RAM. That's nature of the beast. But it's not as big a deal as it used to be. So if you buy the completely entry-level iMac, which is an 8-core CPU, 8-core GPU, 16 gigs of memory, 256 gigs of storage for about $1,300 here in the States, you're still getting a great machine with a great monitor. And if you're not doing things like editing video files and all the rest of that takes up lots of storage, 256 gigs of storage is probably fine.
And we know this because, well, I'm not sure what Guy's using, but I've still got an M1 MacBook Air here, the basic model, nothing added to it, and it still does everything. I can edit I edit my 4K videos and stuff. True, I do it via proxy files and stuff, but it's still seamless. I can't do anything. Like now, it's like, what's the CPU set? 19% now.
Yeah.
Doing nothing. I mean, we're doing all this nonsense here, but this is
19%. Yeah.
Yes.
So it'll only be 8% or something like that. I don't even know. But yeah, if you're looking for a new computer and your needs are not crazy storage intensive, the base level iMac is fine. Just go ahead and get that. And it'll last you for years.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It will last for years.
Yep.
That's my co-host Alan used to say. He used to divide it by how many cups of coffee that would be over a day and stuff.
The coffee scale.
That's it.
Okay, coming up on Tuesday, and here's the funny bit. I didn't even know this was going on. Gaz, as we were doing pre-show last week, it looked like he wasn't paying any attention to me, and I was like, "What are you even listening to me?" He's like, "No."
How could you tell from normal then?
Well, when he's not paying attention to me and doesn't want me to know, he's at least looking up into the camera, and then just completely, it's like, "Oh, did you say something?" But he was looking at the Mac Mini announcement on YouTube. And I was like, what? Sorry, what? And that's when we changed the entire focus of the show from last week, from all of this, and Karl has seen all the notes I had for what we were going to do, and it's still, this is another week going on, still not
Can't do
going to
'em.
do it.
And he's not here next week. So it's gonna
And
be
he's
even
not,
later.
and I'm not here next week.
Is it?
So, no, by the way, no show next week. Just thought I'd bring that up. So you guys get a break. Don't know what's going to happen the week after that. I don't know if Gaz will come on and do a show or ask you to do a show with you or with someone else. We'll see how it goes. But, 'tis the season. There's lots of stuff going on here in the U.S. We have Thanksgiving coming up this month. I'm guessing that's not like a huge holiday over there in the UK.
Well, no.
What?
We don't care you found America.
Yeah, well-
we it wasn't even us. It was, what is it, the Spaniards, wasn't it? Was it?
Yeah.
Or Italians. I don't know who it was.
Well, it was an
Columbus.
Italian on a Spanish ship who never actually set foot
There you
on
go.
the continental United States.
Oh, I know, for some reason he's not very popular anymore.
Yeah,
History.
that.
Who needs it?
Yeah, just throw it all out. Who cares?
No, you can't learn from history.
No. And it was probably Norwegians anyway that actually first Europeans that set foot.
All those Vikings got everywhere. So.
Oh, they did. But they weren't really good at writing stuff down. So
Well, it's too busy doing the fun parts.
slaughter and everything else.
Exactly.
Tuesday,
Mhm.
we got the new Mac Minis, which is it's an interesting kind of switch from what we've gotten before. The new Mac Minis are like 5 by 5 inches, and they've cut down on the number of ports. There's no more USB-A ports. It's all either USB-C or Thunderbolt 5, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Sorry, I think on the base Mac Mini, it's still Thunderbolt 4. Yeah. Base Mac Mini is Thunderbolt 4, which is still like stupid fast.
Yeah.
2 USB-C ports in the front and a headphone jack. You can't get a headphone jack on very many Macs anymore. You can no longer get them on iPhones. You can no longer get them in iPads for reasons. But they still have them in the MacBook Airs and Pros and the Mac Mini. And maybe, I don't know about the Studio or the Pros, but they've really cut, because it's so expensive to put, a headphone jack on a computer. It's ridiculously expensive. I don't know why the headphone consortium
But they are on
charges so much. Yeah.
It's just not on your phones because they got so small now. That big jack takes up space, apparently.
Apparently. Is it really important?
Well, I do like remember the day when they took it out and everyone said, "Oh, how ridiculous!" And then a few months later, they all decided to start taking them out themselves, but they kept very quiet about that. Those other manufacturers.
Exactly. So the base model, 16, you got 16 gigs of memory across the way with all of these as standard. 256 gigs of storage, gigabit Ethernet, 3 Thunderbolt 4 ports, HDMI port, 2 USB-C ports, and a headphone jack. That's it, as far as ports go. That was kind of disappointing for me. I think it would have been better if they'd had either 4 or 6 Thunderbolt ports, and there was enough room. You could have stacked them.
Yeah, but don't Thunderbolt ports have higher demands than just regular USB-C ports? Because there's greater like bus demands because how much data they pull in and out. There's more power required to run them, and you could plug hubs. Can you plug hubs into every port? Would that work? I have no idea.
You could.
So that would be crazy.
You should see my setup with my M1 Mac Mini. I've got an OWC,
Oh, I remember, yeah.
Thunderbolt 3 hub, and I've got one of these Satachis that has like a built-in SSD that you can plug in that has a few more ports, but that all takes up USB-C ports. So you start kind of cascading them after a while,
Well,
especially on the Mac Mini, the M1 Mac Mini that only had two.
well, that's
But
not
they
the point.
also had,
Wasn't you meant to be able to daisy chain them? That wasn't that. Was that the point back in the day?
yeah, you can. But it's just not elegant.
No.
You know, why make a computer this small to be, and essentially it's aesthetics is the reason why they've made it this small. There's absolutely, they can go on and on. Well, we're now using less aluminum and, and blah, 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 blah. It's like, oh, shut up. Shut up. It's a stupid argument. You could have kept it the exact same size and given us more Thunderbolt ports.
So the argument, I understand the arguments, but if they had put 4 in, would then your argument go, well, they could have put 5 in? I just feel like that's one of those. I mean, either way, I don't care because I don't need one of these machines. But it's just always that thing. Oh, they could have done one more. We always as consumers, we see what Apple put out and we go, oh, you could have given us more RAM. Oh, you could have given us more hard. I mean, because that's what they do, isn't it? I mean, that's what we as consumers want. We always want slightly more than what they're offering. And they find this balance to bloody tempt us as well every time.
Every time.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, 3 Thunderbolt ports. I think 4 at that as well. I think is amazing. For that price, for this kind of machine at this spec, even the basic one, £600 here.
Yeah, it's $599.
Yeah,
or
$599.
600. Let's not quibble.
And then, of course, if you go up to the Mac Pro, you get Thunderbolt 5 ports, 3 of them at the back, which is crazy. I don't even know anything that runs that, to tell you the truth. But
well, not yet. It's a relatively new spec. So
you can even buy, if you need more. Firstly, if you've got anything that still needs an A, then you're going to need a converter anyway.
Some kind of converter or hub.
But that's not even going to touch the sides on the speed that these things are going to give you throughputs for.
It's true.
It's. I know we've all got A's hanging around, and we've all got machines that still use A's and stuff. But
I'm using a wired keyboard and a wired trackpad or a wired trackball.
I'm not up Bluetooth on those controllers.
No, I used to use, I don't know if you can, well, if you watch the video, you can see this is a trackball that looks remarkably like one that Logitech makes, which is the one that I had used for years. But the Logitech Bluetooth one was sort of Bluetooth. You had to plug in this stupid adapter.
Oh yeah.
And it wasn't rechargeable at the time with USB-C. So I was constantly, well, not constantly, but at least 2 to 3 times a year having to replace these AAA batteries that had in it. And I just got tired of going, well, okay, I'm going to go to work. Oh crap, the battery is dead or this or that. So having a wired one means I don't have to worry about that. Plus, I'm going to show you my keyboard here. Make sure I don't knock anything else over. Right, you see the size of those letters?
Oh yeah, old man keyboard.
I cannot. Well, I mean, you know why?
Old man. Like me.
Well, not only am I an old man, but I only have one eye, so I need a little more than the tiny letters that comes on Apple's keyboards. And I have used those silicone covers, but they start to wear out and they start to move around a little bit. And it's, so I found this is a wired keyboard, so I don't have to worry about it losing power or having to recharge it or anything else. It's just USB-A right into one of my hubs and it just works. I don't have to worry about it. And we've gone completely off topic.
Yeah, you have. But anyway, again, you can still do that. You just need one of those, £6 adapters. That's it. Done.
I know, but it's annoying. And but then I would rather have it just work all the time.
Well, eventually, keyboards with cables will come with a USB-C plug in it, or they'll come with an adapter or something like that. That's just we're still in that long transition period between USBs and the next standard. Hopefully, it will stay at C for a long time because it's quite good.
It is quite good.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's the same size as Thunderbolt ports
It's not
means that
confusing at all.
well, it is confusing, but the interoperability between the two means that I can plug in a USB-C port into a Thunderbolt port, and it's kind of a waste because you're never going to use as much bandwidth
Exactly.
as a Thunderbolt port, but it works.
But I love this machine. I tell you, because it looks like a little mini studio. Literally, now it is a mini studio.
You're talking about your MacBook Air.
No, I'm talking about this new iMac Mini. Mac Mini.
Okay.
I'm trying to get us back on, like, hold up the signs.
Okay, well, good luck.
Over there.
Good luck.
Well,
Tangent.
But I mean, it looks nice, and it's like a slightly bigger than Apple TV, smaller than the old Mac Mini, and again, you can kit it out to your heart's desire. This can go all the way up to the Mac Pro, the M4 Pro, and you can spend lots of money on it. You still only get the same amount of ports and whatnot.
Well, let's talk about that. So, if you decide to go with the M4 Mac Mini, you have 3 basic options: 10-core CPU, 10-core GPU across the board. Either 16 or 24 gigs of memory on the higher end one, 256 to 512 on the higher end one. What's the difference between the middle one and the higher one? Because they all okay.
Unified memory, 16, 24.
Yeah, you go from 16. So the difference between the low end one is 1010, 16 gigs, 256 storage. Middle one is 1010, 16 gigs memory, 512 storage. Top end one, we're talking about the M4 Mac Mini, 1010, 24 gigs of memory and 512. And you can spec that up all the way to 32 gigs of memory and a 2 terabyte SSD. In doing that, will jump you can also get 10 gigabit Ethernet. So that jumps the price up to $18.99 for the regular M4 Mac Mini. Now, the next one they also have a Mac Pros, M4 Pros. I don't know why I kept saying Pros. M4 Pro chip, 12-core CPU, 16-core GPU, comes standard with 24 gigs of memory and 512 gigs of storage for $1,400. And this is probably, honestly, this is kind of the sweet spot, I think, with the Mac Mini. If you're looking for a machine that's going to last you, 3 to 5 years, this is probably the one to get. And still it has, and one other difference, and we talked about this earlier, I think, between the base M4 and the M4 Pro is you get these 3 Thunderbolt 5 ports instead of the Thunderbolt 4 ports, which will give you some future, what's a good word? Future-proofing. Yeah, future-proofing your machine for when Thunderbolt 5 accessories are available, whenever that happens. With the M4 Pro, you can also upgrade that to a 14-core CPU, 20-core GPU, up to 64 gigs of memory, and up to 8 terabytes of internal memory. And if we also add in 10 gigabit Ethernet, that brings our total to almost $4,500.
$4,699 here in UK.
Yeah. That's just nuts. Now, I have spec'd this out for myself. I didn't bother with 10 gigabit Ethernet. I went to 2 terabytes of storage and 48 gigs of RAM, and that came out to about $2,400.
So who are these higher end Mac Minis for? I mean, they can go into, I'm not sure this form factor, but I'm sure someone will come up with an adapter for the racking systems that are currently out there. But as far as I know, these are like things like render studios and stuff like that, where they just send off special effects artists and
Right.
whatnot send off their stuff to be rendered overnight, and then it comes back to them the next day or whatever. So, that's one end of the market I see for this sort of stuff, and the other end of the market is us again, because we both got Mac Minis.
Prosumers.
Yeah, exactly. But and this one you can spec out depending on what you want this thing to be. This thing can be a workhorse, and be totally invisible, because you can hide it. You probably hide it behind the monitor. You'd never see this thing.
Well, I mean, you could have done that with the old Mac Mini.
of
There
course.
are these mounts that would kind of hook onto the back of your monitor,
Yeah,
and your Mac Mini would just sit back there.
and it's
Yeah.
just the only update.
I don't think. Oh, hold on. I don't think you can do that with this one because the power button is on the bottom.
Yeah, but
and not
come
on
to
the
that.
back.
We'll come to that in a sec. But
Okay.
yeah, I mean, you can put these things back there. You can hide them under your desk. You can put them anywhere, really. This is a really nice looking machine, I think. Out of all the ones that are now announced, this is the most exciting. I still don't need one at the moment for the same reasons I said earlier about I'm still rocking my M1 MacBook Air. But if I was to buy a new machine, this would probably be the one I'd go with the current batch. And it's also probably the most exciting because it's the only one that got a design update as well.
Well,
But,
how would you spec it out if you were going to buy an M4 Mac Mini? And whether would you go with the Pro? Or would you go with the regular?
I think. Let me just put all these back down to where they were, because I keep looking at that price and thinking, don't press that button by mistake. At 1,400 quid, I would probably go for the Pro model, the base Pro model, and I wouldn't add anything to it. I mean, because I know I can survive on that internal storage,
Mm-hmm.
and all my other related storage would be offline anyway, because the speed that you can transfer video files back and forth now is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Plus, I work off proxies, as I say, anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, I mean, I like I say, one of the concerns when I got this MacBook Air as well was that limited storage space. But
Yeah,
I've learned
because
to live
that
with
was
it.
128 or 256.
Yeah, no, it was 128, wasn't it? And I think once when I accidentally left something on and it just filled up the entire space, and I thought,
Yeah.
oh, hang on, I think I was putting Steam
Oops.
games on it or something, and I thought, oh, because I misticked the box and I didn't put them on external storage, it filled up, and I thought, oh my god, what have I done? But soon rectified. But I just love the machine, and I would buy one of these, and I would buy a Pro, and I'd save it, and it would last me for years.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah,
I've
but
got a Mac.
the 1 terabyte of storage is only 200.
I know. See, that would be tempting
Yeah.
if I had a use case for the scenario which I could actually identify what I'd use it for. At the moment, it's just an ethereal, oh, I want this. If I came up with a plan, like if I wanted it to run my Plex servers and all various other things, I would look at...
Well, you're just running that on an old Mac
I'm
Mini,
running
aren't
out
you?
on a
Intel
Mac
Mac
Mini.
Mini?
No, it's an M1. I updated that a few years ago.
Okay.
And that chugs along like you wouldn't believe as well. Just does its job. It's great. So yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic machine. Okay, we'll come back to the elephant in the room. The button is underneath, but PC users take the mickey out of that. But I don't know about you, guy. I never turn off my Macs. They just sleep. They just sleep. I don't put any of them, turn them off ever, unless it's a bloody update, which we all know is once a month.
Yeah,
And it
but that
just lasts.
restarts. That doesn't
exactly.
turn it off and expect you to and turn it back on again.
In fact, there's also that setting in Mac OS, isn't there, where if it suffers a power cut, it'll boot itself back on
Yeah,
when
it'll
the power
boot itself
comes
back up,
which
right.
is fantastic.
Yeah. The only time that I have physically turned off my M1 Mac Mini, because I think I have the same or similar that you have, has been because I mean, let's face it, this is Guy. I have lots of different audio and video software that I'm always constantly trying out, and every once in a while, my Mac Mini just goes and freezes. And when you get a freeze, you don't have any choice. You have to manually restart the machine, and you hit the little power button until it
never
turns
had that.
off.
Never
I not all the time. Once or twice a year that happens to me.
Okay.
and then I immediately get rid of the software that made that happen if I can. And here's every time I get a new Mac, I pretty much do a nuke and pave,
Mm.
and then just reinstall all of the apps that I use on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Because I build up so much stupid crap. And some of it is really hard to get rid of. I mean, it drops. These programs are and it's not that like it's their choice, but it's the path that Apple makes them take in order to add some of the functionality. It drops all kinds of stuff in your library folder that, Apple in their infinite wisdom makes it harder and harder to find. So you can't just like in the old days, you used to just take an app that you no longer wanted, you put it in the trash can, and it would grab all of the other files that was associated with that program, and it would be gone.
See, I've never known since I got in Macs, they've never done that. So, but
No,
it's not as good as
it doesn't do it anymore.
No, exactly. So I have to use what is it, App Cleaner?
Yeah.
App Cleaner, which seems to do it okay. Even that might leave stuff behind. I don't know. I know it's a lot easier than it is with Windows, where it gets in the registry and messes everything up. But
Yeah. Well, the biggest problem I have is with audio drivers that get dropped in, and you just see this super long list when you go to like audio MIDI setup, or if you're using that program from Rogue Amoeba, Sound
Source, is it?
Sound Source, is that what it is?
Like that.
Sound Source, which is a great program, so much better than what Apple gives you. But you'll just see this huge long list, or at least I do, of all of these different things that I've and it's self-inflicted. I'm not pretending otherwise. It's definitely self-inflicted. All these different things that I've installed, and it's like it's almost impossible to get rid of some of them. So
have you still got Soundflower on there?
No, because when I did a nuke and pave on this Mac Mini, I can't remember when it was, but it was after I got it, and all of the Soundflower and some of the other programs that I had tried out that did similar things had been left. Nuke and Pave got rid of all of them, and then I just had to do the painstaking process of reinstalling all of the apps that I wanted.
It took me so long to get rid of that program. It just refused to leave.
You have to go into the terminal and do all these things, and then you come back, you do a restart, you come back, and it's still there.
That's it. Why? How have you survived?
I don't know. It's the big reason, and it doesn't work because you've taken away like most of the components of it, but it's still there,
sitting there taunting you.
Yeah,
like a weed.
poking at you. So like, even if you don't look at it, it's like I'm still there.
Don't get me wrong. Back in the day, it served its purpose.
Sunflower was like amazing.
We move on.
Not so much anymore.
Exactly.
Speaking of moving on Wednesday, we got new MacBook Pros, 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pros. All of them with either M4, M4 Pro, or M4 Max.
Mm.
And this is the first computer from Apple that has M4 Maxes in it. And they're, of course, ridiculously expensive. Let's talk about the 14-inch M4s. Starts at $1,599, $1,600, 1010, 512. If you go up to the next
3
one,
ports now.
Yeah, they added another Thunderbolt port, and they're Thunderbolt with the M4. They're Thunderbolt 4 ports. You have middle range 14-inch, 1010, 1 terabyte. For the higher end or the highest end M4, it's 1010, 24, 1 terabyte. So you get a little more RAM. And if you want to customize it, you can go to the nano texture display, just like you could with the iMac. 32 gigs of RAM, 2 terabytes of storage. You can get the higher end power adapter for whatever reason. And adding all of that, let's just do that and see what happens. Oh, yay. It's $2,750 here in the States. For a stand, and that's for the 14-inch. That's not even the 16-inch.
$4,849 fully spec'd out.
For the 16-inch?
For this, MacBook Pro, yeah. That's a M4 Max chip, sorry.
Yeah. Well, the 16-inch regular, I guess. Oh, okay. You cannot get an M4 on the 16-inch. You have to. It goes up to the M4 Pro, which would
Pro
make
and
sense
Max only.
based on the price, which is
I think there's
2,500 and 2,900, 1420, 24,512,
But what is good
1420, 48,512.
is there's so many different SKUs, as they say, I think it is, here, that you can basically just really zero down to what you want to spend and use it for. There's so many options.
Yeah.
It's like ridiculous. It's getting confusing almost for an Apple product anyway.
Well, maxing this one out. Ooh.
16-incher?
This is the 14, or this is the M4 Pro. I haven't even gone to the M4 Max yet. This is a 16-inch MacBook Pro nano texture display. The 16 CPU, 40 GPU, 16 core neural engine, 128 gigs of RAM, 8 terabytes of storage.
Oh,
And that'll cost you about $7,400
yeah.
here in the States. We haven't even looked at the and I haven't actually priced any of these out yet. Let's go to the M4 Max.
Yeah, exactly. Let's do the 16-incher.
Okay. Well, that's all you can get with
well, true. Yeah.
So and I'm using air quotes here if you don't
And the
watch the
base.
video. Low end
Yeah.
16-inch MacBook Pro with the M4 Max. That's 14 core CPU, 32 core GPU, 36 gigs of memory standard, 1 terabyte SSD, $3,500. If you go to the slightly higher one, it's a 16 core CPU, 40 core GPU, 48 gigabytes of memory, and 1 terabyte of storage. And both of these, I forgot to look at the Pros, but these both have 3 Thunderbolt 5 ports. Can you do a quick check on the Pro and see what I'm pretty sure it's going to be Thunderbolt 5 as well.
It was 5s, yeah.
Okay, so I'm looking at the 16-inch MacBook Pro, the higher end one, about $4,000 for this thing. Go to the nano texture display because why not? Go from 48 to 128 gigs of internal memory. And let's go from 1 terabyte to 8 terabytes of storage. And that brings us up. Actually, it's less expensive. That's weird. It's less expensive than the MacBook Pro with the Pro chip.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It's $73.49.
That's it.
Or maybe that's the same price the other one was.
It's a lot of money. Let's put
It
that
is
way. It's
a lot of money for a laptop.
So don't
Super
leave it
amount
behind
of money.
somewhere.
Do not do that. And I'm looking at that little blue button that says add to bag, and I am hitting that back button in my browser as quickly as I can.
It does say finance is available, guys.
I'm sure. For a mere $700 a month for 12 months, I could, which is more than my freaking car payment. You know, my car payment is a little more than $400. I send them $5, cut some off of the principal.
So all this upgrades, all these M4 Pros and Maxes and base M4 Pro, M4s, it does raise a question though, are we hitting now diminishing returns? Because on the whole, there are people out there who will tax these to the limits.
Yeah. My
That's
son
not a
being
big
one
audience.
of them.
That's not a big audience though.
No.
Most of us are not even scratching the surface of what these machines are capable of. So, and the same, it's the same story now with the iPad Pros as well. I mean, who are they for, really?
I don't know. When I saw that they were putting M4s in iPad Pros, didn't tempt me at all.
No,
because the OS is still so messed up.
Exactly. But even now we go into the Mac range, right? But average consumers like us,
Mhm.
and we are probably above the average consumer.
Maybe.
We can't tax these machines. We could shoot video at 4K, with our phones or cameras or whatever. That'll put a little bit of strain on, but that not much, and not sustained strain.
Yeah, you put it on and your Mac is like, yeah, okay, you're kind of boring me here. I thought you were like a pro. But
So what about people who just like do their email, maybe a few accounts, and read web pages
and do their photos and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
I mean,
No, don't get a MacBook Pro with the Max chip and 128 gigs of RAM and an 8 terabyte drive.
the only way this makes sense to me,
Yeah.
and it's the reason that PCs are pushed constantly to improve and get better, is gaming.
Yeah,
And
but gaming is like not a thing.
Exactly. Now Apple has extended some olive branches to various companies to
Yeah.
port their games, but they're always late. They always come out about 6 months after the PC release.
Yeah, there was one that was just being pushed. It was like Fear to Live or something like that, where there's a painting, starts with a painting, and it's like all this creepy stuff that's going on. Kind of reminded me of like Silent Hill or something like that.
Mhm.
And it was $35, something like that. I kind of started looking it up. Came out in 2018.
Precisely. That's my
Yeah.
point. If now, mind you, I bet you, if you go and look on Steam and there's a Steam sale, that'll go down to what, £6, something like that.
Yeah,
It'll be
probably.
quite cheap. But
Yeah.
we don't get that. It's very rare.
I
we get
keep
that.
waiting for them to do Left 4 Dead. Do Left 4 Dead, Steam. Actually update it to 64 bits
64-bit.
and put it out on the Mac. God,
So-
I've got this gaming PC that I bought.
Purely
And
for gaming. Obviously.
purely for gaming is all that I use it for. And I fire it up. Whenever I fire it up, first thing I have to do is go and get whatever updates there are.
Mm-hmm.
And that takes a little bit of time. And
Mhm.
then when I can finally game, it's great. It's fine. I'm not getting, 250 to 300 frames a second at 4K, 240 hertz and all the rest. I don't care. I'm a casual gamer. I don't
Precisely.
spend a whole lot of time gaming.
So it doesn't make any sense to me why Apple, other than to introduce new products, I keep pushing the power of what these things are capable of without the existing demands around it, sort of thing. Like, we've got the fastest car, but you can only drive on a dirt road. Right? It doesn't make sense. I mean,
But speed limit is 55 miles per
yeah,
hour.
it's just I like what they're producing, and it always looks sexy. It always has. Let's face facts. But
Yeah.
why does it exist?
Well, they have no choice.
True, because otherwise they
think back to the Power PC days when you had G3s and G4s, and for a brief time G5s, and IBM, who was pretty much in charge of Power PC by that time. The consortium of Apple and Motorola and IBM was pretty much done by then. The AIM Alliance, I think, is what they called it. And Apple was not the biggest customer for G4 and G5 chips. The biggest customer was embedded systems, ATMs, and things like that,
Mhm.
where it didn't really matter if IBM increased the speed of them. So Apple is pushing IBM to come out with a laptop version of the G5, or at least make a G4 processor that didn't cook spaghetti, or that you couldn't cook spaghetti on from the bottom of it as you were trying to use it. And IBM had absolutely no interest in doing so, which was one of the big reasons why they ended up going to Intel in 2005, 2006. So marketing, and you hate to say it, but marketing actually drives what's being called innovation these days. So, and it's part of the reason why Intel is in so much trouble, because they've kind of hit the upper limit on what they can do with x86. And basically, Oh, what's the other company that makes x86 chips? AMD.
AMD?
AMD. AMD is kind of eating their lunch right now. They're making faster x86 chips, cooler x86 chips than Intel is. So Intel spent a lot of time and a lot of effort in improving their marketing without really improving their chips. Now, do people and you know the there are two types of people, and I know we're so way off topic here. There are two types of people that drive innovation in the PC market, and that's gamers and high-end content producers.
Mhm.
Everyone else is running Microsoft Office. They're running, maybe some Adobe products if they feel like giving Adobe money every single month. Or, they have a Steam account and they're playing Left 4 Dead and, things like that.
Yeah.
They're not like competitive gamers. And if they have a regular Windows PC that's 2 years old, 3 years old, doesn't matter. It's still doing all of the stuff that they wanted to do.
Because they
But
updating the graphics card.
Right. Marketing is still like, oh, come on, we got to have those faster chips. We got to have those better graphics cards. We got to have this. We got to have that.
So
Go ahead.
so that's my point. Where is Apple on that chart? Because there are now some games that are coming out for Apple, but they still are not making the inroads that they possibly could if they put some money behind it. If they put some money,
they're not making the current games.
No, precisely. But they're not
Yeah.
paying. They're not paying to. I mean, I would think they would have to shell out something to make it worth the companies doing it, because it's a much smaller install base potentially to begin with. So they'd have to sort of somehow
Prime the
subsidize
pump.
it, to begin with, until it can live on its own, until the market for games designed for the Mac as well are just as, at least on a par to the PC releases. And I don't know what those releases are, because any new game that comes out on the PC immediately rushes to the top of the Steam charts, unless it's not on Steam, of course. And it stays there for a little while, and then it starts plummeting. You've now got studios investing millions and millions of dollars into games that then release, and they don't have 200 players playing them, and they die instantly. So it's a sort of a market where Apple could go in and offer their vast cash to say, look, design something for us, please, new, and have it come out day and date of the PC version.
The problem with the PC gaming market is the big push with most of the studios is for everything to be online, because that's a recurring source of revenue if you can get them to sign up for your various services.
Well, that's
but there's not that many games coming out that are like grade A or whatever the grading is for games that are standalone games. Everything is online.
They are coming out, like Wukong, the monkey game. I can't remember what it's called. Wukong something or other.
Monkey Business.
They came out a few months ago. That would have been perfect, but they just didn't bother. There's a few others out there that have come out recently. I'm not talking necessarily about the big like multiplayer map dungeons. What do they call it? MMOPFs or
I don't know. It's
I mean,
QRSTUV.
Well, you don't necessarily buy the game; you just pay for all the little updates you want like that. But there are a ton. You don't even need AAA games. The fact is, the indie market is just as big now as AAA games. If you go on Steam, I'm quite surprised the amount of games I bought from Steam that are compatible with the Apple machine.
Yeah, well, a lot of the smaller developers are using Metal.
But what I'm saying is, we get back to all these machines that came out. They're all fantastic. They're all like around the same price as the previous versions. But what's the power for? I don't understand what
they have to, because they have.
I know.
To.
It just seems odd to me.
And also you end up
diminishing returns.
There are people who, and if you do this, I'm not judging you if you do this. There are people that rush out every single year and they get the latest phone, or they get the latest Mac, or they get the latest laptop, or they get the latest Apple TV. They get whatever the latest thing is because they can.
Yeah.
And if you can, hey, no judgment here, and great. Are you getting much more performance for what you're spending? That's almost irrelevant because
Well, I don't know, because again, as you've spoken about in the past, and we have as well, the fact is you can sell your old machine, especially if it's only a year old, for virtually the same price as the new one. So
yeah, for quite a bit. I mean, my M4 Mac Mini, which I think was $1,400 4 years ago when I bought it, even Apple is offering me like almost $400 as a trade-in for it, and it's like, it's still that's still pretty good money. Not even counting if I bothered to go in like Facebook Marketplace,
precisely,
or eBay or something like that.
So I understand, like, financial things are there. If you're starting from scratch, it's quite a hill to climb. But if you're investing via your old tech, it's not that big a jump always. I'm just confused. That's all. I don't see the need for the amount of power that they're giving us, and not in every situation, because as I say, there are situations where professionals, i.e. developers and these big server farms and stuff, they need the power. Fair enough. I'm just saying for the majority, the 90% of everybody else, the market, I'm confused because I don't know
honestly,
what they're thinking
server farms will probably buy the absolute lowest end one.
Yeah, probably.
Because they're putting them in a rack with 50 or 60 others.
Precisely. But it's an interesting thing. It's an interesting question to start asking ourselves. Why are they keep pumping out these massively powerful machines, but then there's nothing on the tail end to take advantage of it?
Well, they have to.
I know, but but why? Why not take advantage of them? That's my argument. That's all.
Well, isn't that more up to developers of software than it is for Apple?
But if Apple want to show off what their stuff can do, they should do it. They should show the way like they used to. They used to all these wonderful programs that come out, and then Apple would do their own version, and they wouldn't do it totally.
But see, there you go. That is a very, very slippery slope, because when you have a product like Final Cut Pro, which is close to a top-end video editor, what's for $300?
Yeah,
and there's no reoccurring costs. You buy Final Cut Pro for $300, and updates like for the last 10 years are included with it. There's not like a new version of Final Cut Pro that Apple says, oh, you got to give us another $300. And then you have someone like Adobe who has high-end video editors for however much they charge per month for Adobe Premiere. What's the incentive for developers to create a high-end video editor? And there are some that are out there other than the ones that I mentioned.
You got Blackmagic, DaVinci,
right,
done by Blackmagic, and there's a
okay, and Hollywood studios and studios all over the world, the high-end studios all over the world, that's what they're buying.
But that's what I'm saying.
But the bulk of people that are prosumers, you and me, we buy Final Cut Studio. We buy not Logic
DaVinci
Pro.
for free. That's what we do now.
Yeah. Well, I actually use a program called CapCut, but that's
also free apart from subscription, and you can get some.
No, I bought mine and did not go to the subscription model.
Oh, okay,
and it's still working. And I won't go to the subscription model. If I have to go to a subscription model, I'll go ahead and I'll go back to DaVinci. Even though it's harder to use and has lots of features that I'll never use. But anyway, it's not going to charge me more money.
No, but what I'm saying is these powerful machines, which are wonderful and everything, I just don't see what most of us need them for. That's all.
Right.
And it might not be a problem now, but as they start to move forward with the M5, the M6, and don't know how far down the chain they want to go, but at some point, we're going to, as consumers, go, as we have, well, I don't need these. My M1's still ticking along at 20%.
See, there's another point right there. We're not necessarily the year-to-year buyers of these types of machines, and Apple doesn't necessarily market it to the year-to-year buyers of these machines, which is why when you look at their demos, they talk about, well, it's this much faster than the M1. It's this much faster than that. It's, and they always have like whatever the last chip was there. And it's like, 0.7, 0.8, faster than that.
Yeah.
Which is not a number that people that already have that machine are going to bother with. So you bought an M1 Mac Mini. I bought an M1 Mac Mini. Gaz bought an M1 Mac Mini. 4 years going on, still using them. So if we only update our machines every 4 to 5 years, then the speed increase becomes apparent as we start to use these machines. But if you're buying new machines every single year because you can, and again, no judgment, that's what you want to do. Hey, cool. You got lots of excess cash, I guess. You're not going to see as big of as big of an update or upgrade as someone that's switching over from a 4 to 5 year old machine. That's the nature of the beast. So if Apple and Intel and PC makers and everybody else wants us, the vast unwashed majority, to buy new computers every 4 to 5 years, they have to do those yearly updates for the people that bought one 4 to 5 years previous. So there are people that bought M2s and M3s that are probably going, oh, I don't really need this. But when the M6 or the M7 comes out, go, oh, okay, now it's worth it to update.
But what I'm saying is if they're still using the same software, what does it matter?
It probably doesn't. Which is why I'm unsure of whether or not I'm going to buy a new Mac Mini. I was kind of hoping that I would see a Mac Studio, but...
Well, you will. It's just not now, is it? Again,
but it's ridiculous that their two top-end computers are still on M2s.
Well, don't they like doing those things in December?
It doesn't matter.
I know.
It should have been when you updated the Mac line, minus those two machines, to M4s, they should have been included. That should have been Thursday, Friday. Or Thursday, you do the Mac Studio and you do the Mac Pro. And I refuse to believe that it requires some kind of intensive engineering feat to put an M4 Max or Extreme or whatever the highest end version of the M4 is going to end up being, because I don't think we've seen the highest end version of the M4 yet. It can't be that hard to do. And when you're talking about the Mac Studio and the Mac Pro, it's a much smaller market, and you don't need to make that many changes to make it work. And
I don't know. I mean, the Ultra thing is like 4 balls, isn't it, plugged together?
Yeah. It's like two. It's like two of the Maxes kind of slammed together.
Yeah.
Can't be that hard. They've already done it.
It's easy for. I love how we say, "Oh, it shouldn't be too hard to just." Somewhere there's an Apple engineer going, "These people are crazy."
Well, they've had but on the same time, Karl, they've had 2 years to do this.
Exactly, but how? I'll tell you what. Well, I just know how our company run. We wouldn't do it in 200 years. We wouldn't be that organized. So.
Yeah. Well, let's.
They obviously come in because they're back on M2s now, as you say. So they're stuck 2 generations back. And they might not, from a power point of view, mean that much, but from an aesthetic point of view, M2 is smaller than M4. That's what our 8 brains tell us exactly. Yeah. So it's obviously not as good. So at some point that will get updated.
Right. Okay. Well, I think we've beaten this to about death. So why don't we move on to Gaz's tips?
Hit it. Gaz's tips.
Mostly.
Gaz's tips.
Mostly.
Gaz's tips.
It's time for
Gaz's tip.
Okay. Real quick. The number one thing I miss when I'm working on a Windows PC, and that is being able to hit the space bar to preview any file. That, and I find I do when I'm at work, and it's like, oh, what's that picture? I without even thinking, I hit the space bar, and then I wipe out the name of whatever that image or sound file or movie file or whatever it was that I was trying to look at. And then I have to hit escape to make sure it's still back on there before I get out of it. But that alone is one of the reasons why I love using the Mac, being able to hit the space bar to preview any file, movie files, audio files, picture files, text files, doesn't matter. It's all right there in the power of the space bar. Would you agree with that, Karl?
Oh, yes, I'm nodding my head.
He is.
Hit it. That's the end of Gaz's tips. That's the end of Gaz's tips. That's the end of Gaz's tips.
Is that the end of the tip? It
Will
is.
you let me finish?
Gaz, you are absolutely right.
Okay, moving on. Let's do some fun stuff. One of the things that Gaz and I have been doing is talking about all of the crazy ass bumpers that have been generated for us over the years. And as a special treat this week, Karl has a few, and we're going to record those live. But before we do that, I've got two here from, I don't even know what year these are from. They were in the folder called Show 500, because I know we did like some hullabaloo for Show 500, however, God, 500, almost 500 shows ago. And here they are. Here's the first one.
I have it on good authority
Who's that?
that they are already working on their 2nd million listenership, having given up on the first, the G-Men on the MyMac Podcast.
That voice seems familiar.
Yeah, it does that.
And here is one more.
In regards to the MyMac.com podcast, I wish Guy could find a mic that blocked out all the foreground noise.
Thank you, Marcus. And no cursing. I appreciate that.
No.
All right, Karl. So you actually have a few ready to go, and we're going to record those here. So after you say it, wait like 2 or 3 seconds before you go to the next one.
Yeah. So you're going to do this. So I'll tell you anyway. Right, okay. La 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 la.
La.
They're not breaking news. They're barely holding it together. The G-Men on the MyMac Podcast. Yeah, you can't make any noises. As I do
It's
these.
okay because everything is on separate tracks.
Right,
so
okay.
I can pull out all of that stuff.
Right, okay. The only podcast where the hosts need tech support. The G-Men on the MyMac Podcast.
We do. We really do.
If the podcast had a manual, they'd still get it wrong. The G-Men on the MyMac Podcast. That's what I do on my own in the bedroom. Is weird. I'm not sure about it. Apple may innovate, but these two keep it classic. The G-Men on the MyMac Podcast.
Can you do
That's-
that one more?
Apple may innovate, but these two keep it classic. The G-Men on the MyMac Podcast.
Thank you.
I mean, that's almost being nice about you.
I
That
know.
one.
Oh, and we invite the abuse every
That's it.
single time. We do
Okay.
invite the abuse.
Here you go. Why stay up to date when you can stay confused? The G-Men on the MyMac Podcast. And one more.
Okay.
A smoother experience than dial-up, but only just. The G-Men on the MyMac Podcast. Yeah, we all remember those days.
Oh.
It took ages to get any porn.
Oh, and then somebody would always pick up the phone.
Hello?
It's like they would just kill whatever it was you were doing. I was downloading that completely innocent picture of beach
7
balls.
of 9.
Yeah, completely innocent. Do you have a pick this week, Karl? I do not.
No, I did. I'll tell you what, one pick I would, if you're into your retro games, there's various sites out there where you can get ROMs and stuff like this. But for about between £50 and £100, depending what manufacturer you go with, you can buy these joysticks that clamp around your phone. And it's awesome. It turns your phone into a retro game with the aid of something like one of these new retro emulators in the iPads. I'm Mac store,
Totally
iPads. Yeah, so it's great, and you download the ROMs, which I'm sure you've
Accidentally.
owned at some point, so it's not illegal.
Accidentally.
Yeah, exactly. And then you just use it with the controller. I can't. Mine's over there. Unfortunately, I can't get it. But it's brilliant. It just turns your little phone into a Nintendo or a Sega machine, and they're just awesome. Great for spending a few hours. And totally, you're not spending any money really, apart from the controller itself.
Can you put a link to one of those there in the show notes there, Karl? Getting over, we have a lot of feedback this week. As well as a Mr. Cheesed Off. Have you been listening to Mr. Cheesed Off?
Yeah, I think. Well, I'm not sure I know. I think it is.
Yeah, don't tell me. I don't want to know. I like the mystery. I appreciate the mystery. Okay, and speaking of bumpers, here's one from Greg NC.
Hey guys, it's Greg from North Carolina.
Oh, sorry.
At about
Wrong one.
13 minutes into the most recent MyMac podcast, I believe it was number 993, I think you kind of glossed over something and sort of buried the lead there. Gaz was talking about his audio troubles and trying to get a soundboard up and working, and he says it might be something to do with the browser I'm using, Microsoft Edge. You're using Microsoft Edge? Yeah, did you lose a bet? Are you being punished for something? Please, I think this requires further elaboration.
Gaz does not like Chrome. He doesn't like Chrome. He doesn't like, I don't think he particularly likes Firefox. So in order to do this show using StreamYard, you have to be on a Chromium browser. It does not work with Safari and WebKit. So you have to have a browser that uses Chrome. So he's decided in his infinite wisdom, and I will not judge him for this, that he's going to use Microsoft Edge, which is honestly, it's not a bad browser. It's just made by Microsoft. And I know that a lot of Mac users find that to be not great. There's something about, especially old time Mac users or long time Mac users.
They threw them that lifeline. That was why.
Yeah. It still grates. It still grates on them. I frankly don't care, and the lifeline part of it is questionable. But we're not going to debate that here because we spent too long debating about all the rest of the stuff with all the Apple announcements this week.
It was no, I'm not going to do that joke.
Yeah. Well, we have another one here from, I think we have three here from Greg. Here's the second one.
Hey guys, it's Greg from North Carolina again.
Hi, Greg.
You mentioned a recent court case that Apple won, the $250
Yes.
case against patent infringement case. I believe it was Massimo was the name of the company.
Right.
The reason was
for Starbucks.
If it is for less than $250 in America, the case does not go to a jury. And Apple specifically wanted a jury verdict because in some instances, those carry a little more weight as precedent than if it was just a judge issuing the order from the bench for something less than that. So they weren't really trying to harm the company. They just wanted to get a jury case to strengthen their position the next time some sort of patent infringement comes up. Thought you might like to know.
Thanks, Greg. That does kind of make sense. I think the thing that was really kind of striking as funny was just, every single time you hear about some country or other company suing Apple, it's always for, billions and billions of dollars. And let's make sure you can't sell iPhones here until you settle this or whatever. And the fact that it made news that a $250 lawsuit was being contested was kind of like, wow, really? Didn't you spend more than that in parking when you showed up at the courthouse? It's like, what's the big deal here? But it would make sense if you were trying to use that as a precedent in other suits. It was just, I think it was the amount that was the funny bit. And I think I don't know if this one is current. If it's not, I will take it away. But here's another one from Greg.
Hey guys, this is Greg from North Carolina. Yet
Hi, Greg.
again, you were going through the configurations of the Apple products that have just been announced, and I think you mentioned
Yeah,
that the Mac
current.
Mini has one USB-C port in the front and I believe 3 in the back. 1 in the front, 3 in the back.
2
I
in the front.
believe that we should call this the mullet configuration.
Oh, okay. Well, except I'm bald, so no one's going to be doing a mullet. No one's going to be doing a mullet with me. And finally, we have a Mr. Cheesed Off. Are you ready for this, Carl?
Mm-hmm.
Hello, Guy Gaz. Mr. Cheesed Off here.
Hello, Mr.
You're not going
Cheesed
to believe
Off.
this. Apple's only gone and put the power button on the Mac Mini on the bottom.
Oh.
That's right. To turn it on, you've got to pick it up, flip it over, like you're inspecting a flipping rock. Who thought this was a good idea? I bet they're having a good old chuckle over in Cupertino. And don't forget the new Magic Mouse. They still got the USB-C charging port on the button of that too. So if you want to charge it, it just sits there, belly up, like a little turtle that's given up on life. It's the only mouse that looks like it needs a personal trainer. Sure, it only takes a minute to charge it, that they say. But sometimes, I'm in the next storm. I don't need to scroll. Now, damn it. So they're all just waiting for what's next. Maybe they'll put the iPhone charging port inside the SIM card tray. Or maybe the Apple Watch power button under the strap. Imagine trying to press that during a workout. Well, not you, Guy, obviously, but someone who actually works out. By the time they start fiddling with it, you'll be sweating just from the effort. Honestly, at this rate, I half expect the next MacBook to have a headphone jack inside the flipping battery compartment. Oh, wait. Oh, I don't know. Sometimes it all really cheeses me off.
Thank you, Mr. Cheesed Off.
What an image.
Hey, I do work out. I use 2 forks.
Oh,
2 forks, no waiting. That's how I got these guns. Urgh.
right.
That's all the feedback we have for this week. Now we are coming up on show 1000, and we would like you all to create some new bumpers. You can say whatever you want about us. Keep it between 5 to 10 seconds, please. And if you must use naughty words, Marcus, that's fine, but they will be beeped. The random drawing winner at some point after show 1000 will get a $50 Amazon gift card, because that's the easiest thing I can think of to do internationally. And show 998 is likely the cutoff for entry, but you can insult us whenever you please. And we will probably play all of these bumpers show 1001, and I'll tell you why. Because show 1000, I haven't started yet, but I'm going to go out and I'm going to be talking to all of the major players that have had something to do with the MyMac podcast, and hopefully like little 10 to 15 minute segments, and get them on, get their points of view, get them to talk about their experiences with the podcast over the years, because this is one of the longest, if not the longest, Mac podcast that's out there. Started in 2004. I didn't start in 2004, but the podcast was started by Tim Robertson in 2004. And, that's the 1,000 shows. That's a pretty big deal. So $9.99 is the cutoff. You could win $50, and you can call us whatever you want. There's your incentive.
Have you checked the maths yet, by the way? Because you're not going to do a show for 2 weeks now, right?
Yeah.
Then that will leave you 6 shows to go to 1,000, which will put you around Christmas time.
And there's a reason why that's significant. Because we're talking about.
No, we're not.
Do you want to talk about this right now?
No, we don't want to say anything, do we, at the point?
Okay, well, we're not going to talk about it.
I'm just saying, have you done the maths there? That's all.
No, I haven't. But, I mean, lately there's been so much other stuff going on. I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks. Gaz is gone this week, and there'll be other shows. It's probably more likely going to be after the first of the year, sometime in January, when show 1000 will hit. Yeah. Good enough. Carl, number one, thanks for coming on. I really do appreciate it. if people wanted to contact you and say, what the hell were you thinking when you decided to go on to a podcast without Gaz as a backup and talk to Guy for now almost 2 hours?
Wow.
What would you, how would they do that?
Well, there's only one place now, and that's on X, Claw0101. So that's it.
Okay. If you wanted to reach Gaz, you could send him an email through the email client of your choice to Gaz at mymac.cars. Sorry, mymac.com. Wow. Hello. Guy is back doing the podcast. Gaz at mymac.com. That is Gaz.
Gaz.
Thank you. You can reach him on Mastodon. He is Gazmaz at c.im. That is GAZMAZ.
Gaz.
We are also on the Twitters as Guy and Gaz. That is GUYANDGAZ.
Gaz.
And if you'd like to get a hold of me, I am Mac Parrot and or Vert Shark over there on the Twitters. Usually I'm there doing Mac Parrot. You can also find me over on Instagram and Threads as Vert Shark. You can find me, you can send me an email to Guy, G-Y, at mymac.com. And if you want to contact both of us and leave some feedback that Fearless Leader Tim will also see, that would be feedback at mymac.com, FEEDBACK at mymac.com. And we have I almost said a Skype telephone number, but no, I have actually canceled that. We have a Google Voice number that you can call, and that number is...
Call 703-284-6777 for the MyMac Podcast with Guy and Gaz. It's tech heaven.
And if that's not quite your cup of tea from, what was it? Suno, I think that was from. It was this one.
Oh, Guy, hey, Gaz.
No, that wasn't it. Is this it? There it is.
I want to call Guy and Gaz. They made me laugh. They made me cry.
Yeah.
They say they know tech, but I don't know why.
Yeah, you need to wait.
I call them anyway. It's 703-828-4678.
46.
What's that in bit again?
Yeah, that's the number. 828 46. So yeah, in case you missed it, the Google Voice number is 703-828-4677. If you're calling outside the United States, you'll need to add the country code as well, and you will probably incur charges if you dial it directly. So the easiest thing to do is just record something, save it as an MP3 or whatever, and send it to all the various things that we were just talking about just a few minutes ago. If you'd like to support the show, you can do so by going to patreon.com/MacPettit. You can also go to ko-fi.com/MacPettit.
Yeah.
Or, thank you, you can also pay a pal at paypal.me/MacPettit.
Yeah.
Now, here we come up to the saddest part of the show, Karl, where we have to say goodbye, and that is sad. So, to everyone who downloads and freaking listens to the MyMac.com podcast, we greatly appreciate it. Thank you so very, very much. And Karl, I think that with your addition, that this week we were good enough.
Mm-hmm.
And with Karl being here, smart enough. And that doggone it, Wolf, that amazing pup. Doggone it. People like us. Now,
I got one.
Oh, go ahead.
You know, I used to play piano by ear. Now I use my hands.
Didn't give me a chance to answer that one. That's an old one.
I know.
So what's the difference between a well-dressed man on a unicycle and a poorly dressed man on a bicycle? Attire.
Oh, God. What do you call cheese that isn't yours?
Runny?
Nacho cheese.
Nacho cheese. All right. Thanks, Carl. We'll see you guys next week. No, we won't. We'll see you when we see you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for downloading and listening to the MyMac Podcast. You can also hear other great podcasts on the MyMac Podcasting Network, like the Tech Fan Podcast, Three Geeky Ladies, Geekiest Show Ever, the Let's Talk Podcast, Essential Apple Podcast, and the Club PlayStation and Club Nintendo Podcasts.
You can all go home and there's nothing to worry about. Get out of here now. Go on. Go on home and go home.